Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our next discussion. For this Digital Circles event, I'm very excited to have a few guest speakers with us today. My name is Tim Darty. I'm a sales executive at Creatio, and the Digital Circles discussion we'll have is focused on how financial services organizations can unleash customer experience innovation with no code. So before we get started, I wanted to introduce the three speakers we have for today's session. First, we have Sanjeev Agarwal, Global Head BFSI CMO Initiative at TCS. Sanjeev is an experienced marketing strategist and solution provider. He's a technologist at heart and background with great experience in digital and automation technologies. He is also an experienced project manager trained to drive an idea from implementation to realization. So thank you very much, Sanjeev, for joining the session today.
Thank you, Tim.
And then next, we have Jurgi Guri, founder and CEO, Facilization. Jurgi is coming from a software development and IT background. He's developed strong expertise during his 15-year career in banking while holding positions in the banking industry, including VP of Technology, as well as Head of Operations. So thank you very much, Jurgi, as well, for joining the discussion today.
Thank you very much, team.
And then finally, last but not least, we have Amel Kovacevic, CEO of Bank of Albania. So Amel brings with him over 20 plus years of experience successfully in the finance, banking, and diplomacy industry. Amel is a result achiever with the ability to understand the complex socio-economic context and to derive and implement business strategies. So thank you very much as well, Amel, for joining the session today.
It's my pleasure.
Perfect. So I just want to dive in with some of the key topics that we're going to discuss today. So as I mentioned, our focus is really all around unleashing customer experience innovation through the use of no code. So the first question I wanted to throw out there to the panel is, why is it so difficult for financial services organizations to get their customer experience strategy right? So I know there are a lot of technologies and processes involved with getting the right customer experience strategy in place, but I wanted to pass it off to the panel to see if there's any initial thoughts on what some of those major problems might be. I don't know if anyone wants to take the ball and lead that topic.
So I can start, Tim.
Sounds great, Sanjeev.
Yeah. All right. See, typically, I've been into financial industry for 20 years now, more than 20 years. I see three dimensions to this challenge, if I may call it. Right. So one is the customer side of things. Second is the organization, and third is the environment that we are in. Right. Customer side, you and me, all of us, we see that our own behavior is changing. The way we used to do stuff earlier and the way we expect things now, the dynamics has changed quite a bit. And of lately, last 2 years, we saw the Corona impact, and that is pushing us more towards digital technologies and less of people touch. So that behavior for a customer is changing. So that makes things difficult, rather changing very fast. If you look at the organizational dimension, now typical challenges I see with the organizations, one is there are different departments, and every department has their own way of dealing, with their own priorities. They have their own systems, that they have their own way of managing data, and so on and so forth. Right. So aligning the departments, aligning the different stakeholders within an organization, and then having a cohesive strategy across data, across technology, across people, the stakeholders. Right. So that's another thing I find. At times, the line of businesses are working very in a very siloed environment, right? So that stitching all that together definitely creates a lot of challenge at times. And lastly, the environment, the ecosystem itself. Of course, there are different elements, socio-economic elements, regulatory elements, for specifically important for the banks. And then surprising situations like Corona, we were not ready for this kind of situation, and nobody was ready for that. Right? So that adds complexity to see how do we create that kind of customer experience. So we got to be always really on our toes to manage stuff, right? So that's how I see the challenges.
Thank you, Sanjeev. That's very, very insightful on that. I don't know if Georgie or
yes,
yeah, Georgie, you want to jump in?
yeah, team, I'll jump in. I think I do agree with the points Sanjeev mentioned, and I think the whole questions when it comes to banks and especially financial services institution is how do they know their customers digitally? So traditionally, they're used to know their customers through relationship manager or through various interactions and data they hold in the system. But the other question that comes up, do I really know the customer digitally? How he behaves in the digital work, how it uses digital channels? So that is always a challenge that does not comes with a straightforward answer. And then the other questions that comes here is being able to really identify who can really help to know your customer more digitally, which means having the alliances and collaboration with other partners of the ecosystem that will enable you to know the customer digitally. And I think the last point I have here is that more or less is synchronized with what Sanjeev said, is that traditionally banks rely on hierarchies, on structures, different departments, different targets, different politics that are not 100% aligned with a more agile method as to how you go forward to know your customer digitally. So, I mean, there is a lot of work and innovation from various customers, but minimum viable products, prototyping, A/B testing, and the innovation learning does not really tally with the budgeting and the return of investment, which typically a bank is used to value its investment. So these are some of the points, but I come out to the first point. How do we really know our customer digitally so we can serve to him digitally in a better fashion?
Great. Thank you, Georgie. I don't know if Amel, you want to add anything to that?
I would like just to say that to make a strategy for a customer experience is, of course, depending on the context in which you are operating, whether it is socioeconomic, demographic context, cultural context, and regulatory context as well. So being a CEO of a small bank which is trying to recharge itself and trying to find a strategy to be able to have sustainable growth in the market which is emerging and which is not yet well regulated when we are talking about digitalization, and where the population itself is still have to increase marginally, significantly its digital literacy and infrastructure that is important to be implemented in the country. We believe that these all fields are and all segments has to be taken in consideration when creating a strategy for the customer experience. Of course, the question which Georgie said is how do we know how our customers are behaving in digital world is a crucial and we at this point of time can, especially in the markets such as Albania, can actually measure it, but rather we will be able to refer to some more advanced markets how they actually have solved these problems and how they have identified the globalized approach to behavior when we are talking about banking in digital world.
Perfect. Thank you, Mel. Any other? So it seems like we have a lot of good discussions on that around data being siloed, trying to understand what digital channels your customers are using, how to appropriately go after them. Any additional thoughts before I move on to the next topic? Perfect. So I think this question segues into the next topic that we have here. So we talked a little bit about some of the difficulties for financial services organizations improving their customer experience and improving their customer experience strategy. But from your perspective, and maybe we'll go in reverse and start with Amel this time, what are the keys to a successful customer experience transformation in the financial services sector from your perspective?
My perspective is very unique. I'm leading the bank, which was almost not having a proper standardized products and channels of communication with the clients. The client portfolio and banking portfolio is very low, and as well as I have a specifics that I have to operate not according to conventional modes of operation, but rather I need to implement here Islamic banking operations in the country, which is not having a regulatory framework for Islamic banking operations. So it is quite difficult to manage all these aspects. And our strategy was very simple. If we are, small and marginal bank in the market, if we are obsolete in technology, if we do not have a huge customer portfolio and we hope to grow and hope to compete in the market, we supposed to choose a niche where we are going to position ourselves, segment ourselves, focus on the segment which is going to be dominant segment in the future. And we believe that millennials and Z generation in the future are going to play a very significant role in consumer society of this country. And the way how can I say, copy and paste the strategies of market makers in this country will not lead us far away. We choose to use technology as a frog leap in order to position ourselves in faster than it could be achieved before through technology into the segment, and to play a basketball if everybody is playing football, because to play football with Messi and Ronaldo, it's very difficult. So let us play some other sports they are not experts in, and we consider ourselves to design and to build a bank which is going to be a boutique bank, which is going to be recognized for the customer experience in a way that the clients will be, technologically supported, and that they will have enough human touch as well from our side, and to provide a certain value-based transactions and the products and services, so that we actually differentiate ourselves from others, and to try to actually find a market for ourselves. Of course, with limited resources, we have to be smart in choosing what type of technology we are going to use, the technology which is able to bring us to the future, that we are able to utilize our own internal resources in the same time, and to be flexible enough to find agile and out-of-the-box solutions for our bank in order to have ongoing and ever-growing customer experience.
Great. Thank you, Mel. That was very insightful around trying to find the right market and then really differentiate from some of your competition. That was very, very insightful. Any thoughts, maybe Georgie? Do you have any thoughts on this?
Just I think fully agree with the strategic approach that Ahmed mentioned. Just want to also highlight on some points that I do see on the strategy, and I think stands also at a wider context. So you really need to find and continuously push for more value. So that's very, very important in order to have a successful customer experience. Okay, you need to keep on pushing and discovering and finding exactly and measuring this value, and then build on top of it. And then surely you have to stay agile in order to ensure scalability, because I mean, you are going to discover something new, and then you need to have the no-code technology that will enable you agility and have the possibility to easily adapt to what customer needs, so they can generate the added value. So that's 2 points that I also are in line with the strategy that was mentioned from Amel.
Okay. Thank you, Georgie. Sanjeev, any thoughts from your end?
Yeah, I think good points covered by my peers here. I'll go with a slightly different dimension as well here. Typically when we work with the large banks or insurance firms, I see a good trend of people having a dedicated role for customer experience. Right, so we see roles like chief customer officer, chief experience officer. I think that's a very, very good move. People who are solely responsible, again, solely in the sense in terms of role, they are responsible for driving customer experience, and they are empowered to work across LOBs, and then they can bring that cultural shift in the organization. And I think beyond what Amal and Georgie said, the cultural mindset, the organizational mindset has to be changed, because when we look at different stakeholders in an organization, at different levels, people are touching the customers at different touch points, right? So are they trained enough to really, or sensitive enough to the customer experience they are providing to their customers when they are talking to them, when they are responding to their queries, and so on and so forth. And then, of course, the next layer of data and technology is more of a supporting thing. I think we have plenty of options. In fact, I agree to what Emil said. Every organization is unique that way. I mean, there may be a different place at a maturity curve, but it's very important to first understand where do we stand right now as an organization, fix that point, and define what is your target destination depending on the vision that you have taken for the organization, and then define your ideal journey for the customer lifecycle. Each journey, each touch point is important based on the appetite your organization has with respect to data and with respect to technology. And of course, having those right stakeholders and right touch points embedded into that journey. I think that's the way to go. And start agile, start small is my recommendation always. I see at times organization, they invest a lot in some big technology stack and driving large programs. Quite a few places we find that they are not able to even leverage that properly, completely, right? So go small, focus on touch points explicitly, nurture your customer at that touch point, then move to the next one. That's the take I'll have here.
Great. Thank you, Sanjeev. I think before I go into the next topic, I think the points that Sanjeev mentioned, there's just one follow-up question on this topic I wanted to throw out there, so it seems like a lot of the challenges might be more technical, finding the right technology to bring in to resolve some of the digital transformation from a customer experience perspective issues that are out there. But Sanjeev also mentioned challenges around making sure that there's the appropriate culture and the appropriate vision with the organization to have the appropriate goals in mind. So from your perspective, have some of the challenges around obtaining superior customer experience, are they more from a lack of technology perspective, or more from a lack of kind of having a clear vision within the organization that your team builds before even implementing the technology? I'd be interested to hear any thoughts on that before I move on to the next topic.
Well, Tim, my take is there is no standard answer, to be honest. As I said, every organization is unique. We see diverse challenges when we talk about customer experience. At some places, as I'm going back to my first answer, we saw that organizations are operating in a very siloed manner. They are not able to stitch their data together, and a lot of time goes into just keeping the data correct, right? So that's a typical challenge. Second dimension, they have invested heavily, or possibly banks carry a lot of legacy debt as well, right, from a technology standpoint. So that's another challenge. And thirdly, if there is not a single gatekeeper for experience, then every line of business is free to drive their own way. That may not be a cohesive strategy. So again, depending on what organization behavior, the way they are structured, the way their priorities are, it's important for us to assess where they are right now, and then see what best works for them. That's my take.
I believe that there is a very significant role of leadership.
Yeah.
Top or patrons of the projects. If there is no proper clear vision of the management of the institution, that this is very crucial, that customer experience is going to be a driver for us in the future, that the old thinking, old yesterday thinking is not anymore efficient enough to provide us with the growth we all would like to achieve. I think this, expertise or technology cannot help.
I would also vote for the vision, which for sure should be embraced from the leadership team, because I think in any case, without a vision, any initiative will find it hard. There are so many things that might be going wrong. So unless the vision is shared across the organization and there is a strategic commitment from the top, it's going to be really challenging to drive change and keep a momentum for a sustainable and a never-ending, never-lasting change.
Well said. Well said. Any other thoughts on this topic before I move on to the next topic for discussion? Great. So I think the next topic, now that we've discussed some of the challenges around implementing superior customer experience, some of the successful strategies for obtaining digital customer experience transformation. Now, based on your experience in the industry, are there any top trends that you're seeing around what organizations are doing to enhance digital customer experience in the banking space? And we'd be interested to get your thoughts on any of the trends that you're seeing in the market. I think this maybe we can start. Yeah, go ahead.
I can start, just mention, I mean, because there are lots of trends, but what we see across most of the customers these days is first, it's an automation of the onboarding process. So, I mean, across different geographies and different kind of financial institutions, the automation of customer onboarding and also do more origination activities, so onboarding together with lending or onboarding together with creating of a deposit, trend has become very consistent, and I think everyone, unless the bank is built to be a digital bank, is looking forward to be able to onboard new customers online. And then I think especially also driven from the COVID situation, the support for digitalization of the remote work and remote servicing, that is also a constant trend, at least with the banks and financial institutions we operate. So I would emphasize these two trends, which are the ones in the territory we work with customers and with banks and financial services we see as common.
Great points. I don't know if Amel, you want to add to that from your perspective?
Yeah, of course. What can I say is that omni-channel distribution of the products and services, as well as communication with the client, mobile applications as well, as it playing a crucial role for communication with the clients and to learn and to have a direct distribution of the products and services to them. These are the trends which I believe, apart from Georgi what said just now, I believe these are the most important trends that we should, of course, try to put to our context.
Great. Sanjeev, anything you would like to add to that?
Yeah, one thing interesting that I started observing of lately, that there is a strong play of fusion of ecosystems, right? Earlier, possibly 5 years back, banks used to do banking, right? Healthcare used to do healthcare. So they were clearly focusing on their own domain. But look at the last 5 years, I think the fusion of ecosystem is coming up really exciting. Amazon is starting payment services, MX is starting travel services, or Lloyd start talking about mental health care. I see the way I see, I'm a customer, my life is about, my professional life, my job, my family. And now the service providers also see things like that, right? My bank sees that it's not only the saving account or the credit card. They now want to offer me, say, cashless pharmacy, right? So to say. So that the combination of different domains is coming up really very interesting, I would say. And banks and insurance companies are doing pretty well. I mean, some of our customers we work with, auto insurance for that matter, healthcare insurance, or travel cards, as I said. I mean, the boundaries are getting blurred, where the banking starts and the retail starts, or FMCG starts, right? So that's the trend I see, which I find really very interesting.
Yep. No, that's a very good point. Sanjeev. Any follow-up thoughts from anyone on that topic before I move on to the next one? Awesome. Very, very good thoughts from everyone on the panel on that one, though. So I think this leads into the next discussion, which goes off some of the points that have already been made. So from what we've seen in the space, I'm sure it's familiar to your teams as well. Too many banks and financial services organizations are losing sales and customers due to broken customer journeys, which is something we've talked about. So from your perspective, how can no-code, low-code technologies help reduce customer churn rates? I think one topic we had mentioned on the last conversation was around automating customer onboard to make sure right when a customer is brought into your organization, they're given best-in-class experiences right away. But any other thoughts from your experience around how no-code technologies can help reduce churn rates for customers? I don't know if Sanjeev, for this one, you would want to start with that.
Yeah, sure. A few advantages that I see from a no-code, low-code solution. One, as I said, the data is quite siloed. If we are able to somehow stitch that data together, so if a no-code platform can give me that cover, wherein my underlying applications can actually speak to a single channel and then make my data consistent across applications, make my process consistent across applications. And then if I have to, let's say, connect with my third-party integration systems, is it that, like traditionally we used to do a 2 months integration program, or now do we have ready connectors so that I can quickly either source the data from one place and send it to my consumers as well? I think that's where I see a lot of good work being done by no-code, low-code platforms, and I see that really a very agile way, and you are shifting more power to the customers, to the business hands, which makes things very, very interesting.
Great, thank you, Sanjeev. Georgie, any thoughts from your end on that?
No, just adding to the points mentioned from Sanjeev. So I mean, surely you need to connect the data, and it can be easier kind of orchestrating or being orchestrated with certain processes, but it's very important to know your customers and be able to leverage smart insights. So when you think of the customer journey, you need to integrate all the data in order to know and be closer to the customer across all the business life cycle. So I mean, in the banking starts from the onboarding, origination, offering, but then once it becomes your customer, the product and service is being solved, then another important aspect that I would like to mention is how you could take advantage through a low code and a digital CRM and marketing platform based on low code to orchestrate or to make use of the customer as a referral channel. So I think I would say referrals are very important. If you look at the other sectors in the industry, in the retailers, they are being digitally utilized and maximized by where a product or a service is being referred to friends and family and others. That is something typically we do not see in banks, and building and orchestrating the referrals model would be something of interest and could also lead to a more personalized offer. Surely, I mean, I'm going a bit too further to the current needs. I mean, we're dealing and we're speaking with other customers, but I think knowing the customer, and if a customer trusts you, is a good customer, he can easily refer you. And how you are going to really put the incentives and connect this part of the customer journey of the customer with what you know and what you offer to the customer might be an interesting proposition for the future.
Great points, Georgie. Appreciate that feedback. Mel, any thoughts from your end on this?
Yes, I would like to be able to talk about these issues, in such a theoretical way. I'm practically facing very, very, how can I say, profane problems, how to actually standardize my workflows, how to make financing origination in such a way that it is efficient, productive enough, how my communication with the client is going to be standardized, how it is going to be omni-channel, how it is going to be on time and prompt. As I would like to mention the project we are actually working now with facilitation, which we are going to introduce in Albania. It's going to be some kind of platform. Maybe Georgie is going to be technically explaining it better than myself, but what I will explain it in a layman's language. Actually, I would like to leverage on my partners, retailers who are in selling different type of consumer goods and home appliances or whatever in their shops, and I would like to be a banker there in that shop without any kind of paper documentation activities, so that authentication, authorization, and approval of financing for those purchases which they are going to make in the retail shops are going to be done instantly, without any paper, without their coming to the bank. Because being a small bank, I have to fish not only in front of my ship, but I have to fish in the ocean, and I need to have a leverage from my associates, my partners, strategic partners, third parties who are going to be kind enough to offer us a hand to finance their customers to purchase their products. Jordi can explain it in different way. This is the way somebody who is not technician explaining the things.
Oh, I would thanks. I would add it's about digitally onboarding customers, digitally identifying customers, digitally signing contracts, and efficient scoring to approve credits and onboard customers and serve it needs where he is at the retailer shop, offering the financing, so everything becomes seamless.
Well put. And I think there's one last question I think plays off of this last discussion, some of our other ones that I wanted to get into before we end the session today. But according to MX, roughly 70% of consumers said they would like their banking experience to be similar to the experience they have in other industries, such as with Netflix and Amazon, really focused on very personalized experiences, but then also very easy experiences as well. So from your perspective, and I think this summarizes a lot of the things we've talked about with low code, having an agile platform, and reducing churn, can no code help with that, providing those hyper personalized and easy experiences for your customer base? And do you think that is possible within the financial services industry to have similar experiences to what consumers have in other industries with Amazon and Netflix, for example? I don't know if Amel, you would want to start with this topic.
I believe that what we have seen in China with the WeChat is something which is going to be replicated in different places. What WeChat Pay has done in China, how it is organized, and how it created a totally new dimension of businesses and opportunities for individuals and businesses should be studied and should be seen as maybe one of the possible solution for different countries and maybe global as well. To have disruptors coming into the market as well, as my colleagues are mentioning, who are coming from insurance companies, from telecoms, from great and large mega social media. All of these players are going to influence banking and financial industry as such, and I believe that we should be able to adjust, to adapt ourselves and navigate to this future in a way that we are able to survive. How low code is going to help, I'm not expert, but I believe the experts that they have solutions, and I hope to learn as well.
Tim, if I may add,
yep.
And then I would just like to apologize because I will have to continue to the next session. I think unless there is a low code platform available in the background, it's going to be very difficult to consumers to set up personalized settings and be able to do the personalization of their experience with you. So similar to Netflix, how you create different profiles, and then the platform through analytics differentiate and make better offering according to the profile. being able to offer the customers a platform where they could choose what they want to use, how they want to use, what they want to see, is relatively impossible unless there is a low-code platform running in the background. Otherwise, you need to expect the customer to be a developer, which is not going to happen. So it has to be simple and straightforward. So thanks I would have to jump to the other session. So I want to thank all the audience, especially Sanjeev and Amel. Thank you.
Thank you, Georgie. Appreciate it. Awesome. And Sanjeev, I know we have about 3 minutes left. I'll let you have the final point here on this topic before we wrap up.
Well, Tim, my take, I'll split it into 2 parts. See, one side, customers have expectations from a bank to be like a Netflix or Amazon, but possibly we need to see what kind of transactions are being done, right? When you talk about Amazon, the kind of transaction is absolutely different from what, as a customer, I'm doing with the bank, right? So and if you ask me as a customer, I'll say that yes, I need that kind of experience. But at the same time, important aspect to understand banking that way is a matter of security, trust, and those kind of emotions, right? While Amazon, Netflix possibly are very transactional in nature, right? So I may expect that the experience has to be wow, like Netflix. But back of the mind, I would not want to compromise with the fundamentals that I'm expecting from the bank. So somewhere, I think we also need to rationalize that expectation. That is one side of things. From the organizational standpoint, my observation, my experience with the banks is that typically I myself, I'll call it from a banking background only that way, we stay away from shiny object syndrome, right? So to call. We are still learning to adopt those way of working, a way to go. We are learning from retailers and other organizations. But I think there has to be a balance. Banks have to step it up a little bit, and possibly customers' expectations need to be. We can't do much about it. But again, possibly when you start challenging the customer, like Steve Jobs says that even customers don't know what they want. Right. Mm-hmm. So your surveys may have a different outcomes than actual what I have in my mindset. Right? So that's my take in that.
Thank you, Sanjeev, for having that. But I know we only have a minute left here, so I just want to thank you, Sanjeev, and Amel and Georgie as well for taking the time to connect. We're going to move on to our next session, but really appreciate the insight you provide on how we can improve customer experience in the banking space. So I'd like to thank you all for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be there.
Same here. Amel, great talking to you as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.